Welcome to Cryptic Accounts, a podcast by paranoid people for paranoid people. And this week on the show, we've got Boris Kipriyanovich, the Indigo Child. I'm your skeptic researcher of the week, Patrick Ryan, joined as always by a guy I'm going to explain it to this time around, Dennis Cheney. Hi, Dennis.
Hello, Patrick.
I feel like I could work on your part a little bit more, but I like the skeptic researcher personally.
Yeah, I like how you gave yourself a title and now I'm nothing. I get it though.
Well,
I'm Guy. I'm Guy who you don't explain anymore.
Let's workshop it. Okay, well, next week, you figure out what to say I am in that one.
Welcome to Cryptic Accounts. I am your magnificent host for the week, Dennis Cheney, and joining me is, let me look at my notes, Patrick Ryan.
I love how you still just use the variation of host, though. Like, you're just...
I had to think it up on the spot. You threw this stuff at me last minute. I don't like change, Patrick.
I know. This one's going to be a fun one this week, though. Like, I'm
excited.
It's not going to be super stressful. It's not going to be global warming or anything like that. I think we're going to have fun. I think it's going to be one of our more lighter episodes.
Oh, really? Oh, that's fun. Okay, yeah, we could do with a palate cleanser now and then.
A little bit.
Doesn't all have to be mantises sticking stuff up our nostrils.
Yeah, I mean, thank God it doesn't have to be that, because that would get really tedious after a while.
I feel like I was almost in a mantis rut for a while.
I mean, we've each had our little topic holes that things just spurred off in 5 different directions that are just kind of bursts of research, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm pumped for it, man.
I decided to do this one finally, though, because since I've been kind of putting this one together and looking at it, it's crossed over with more other episodes that we've done and topics that we've talked about. So it's kind of wow, we need to talk about Boris already. We need to do that.
We've done Indigo Children, right?
We did Star Children.
Okay.
Which we're going to talk about a little bit later. They're kind of compared as being the same things, but I'm not exactly sure that they are the same thing. They seem a little bit different.
That was our not cult episode.
Yeah. I think it was 40-something, 45, episode 45, I believe, Star Children and the alien hybrid assimilation.
And I still want to talk to their leader.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name. Basher. It was Basher.
It was Basher. That's right. Yeah. I can't believe you remembered that.
Yeah. It took me a minute, but yeah, who could forget Basher? I think I did a couple episodes ago when this actually came up also, though. I feel like we've tried to bring him back up again, and I'm like, I don't remember that guy's name.
That was a fun one. People should go back and listen, but I'm ready to learn about Boris.
Yeah, so let's talk about Boris Kipriyanovich. Now, I don't know that we're as aware of him in America, but over in Russia, he's a very famous person. So Boris, who is lovingly called Boriska, meaning little Boris, when he was just 7 years old, Dennis, he held an entire audience in awe at a camping trip, like a group of adults, by recounting stories of the red planet Mars.
Ooh. So he is kind of a star child a little bit.
Yeah, and again, a little bit later on, we're gonna kind of talk about what those two things are, but yeah, we're gonna get to that. Similar things, not exactly the same, I don't think. So Boris Kipriyanovich was born January 11th, 1996, to mother Nadia Kipriyanovich. Not a whole lot gets said about his dad, and I'm not really sure why that is. He seems to be in the picture, but nobody really. His mom was a lot more vocal about him, maybe. So since his birth, he has not been a normal child, but has demonstrated super capabilities that are very rarely seen at a child at these early ages. So his mother Nadia claims that he was able to hold his head up without her support when he was just 15 days old. Which I don't know if you've ever met a baby, Dennis. That's not normally a thing a newborn baby can do.
I don't usually pal around with babies, but yeah, I do know that their necks they have very weak necks.
Very weak necks and very large heads most of the time.
Yeah, their
It's
head
very
compared to the rest of
disproportionate.
their body. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, because usually, like, if you don't know, if you've never had children or you've never met a baby before, it takes them a few months to be able to develop that sort of strength to be able to do that.
So he's super strong.
At least his neck is at this point. Got a real strong neck. Um, and his mother, Nadia, is actually a doctor. And she found all this very strange, as we are. But at the same time, she was already starting to believe that her son was gifted, and that's why he was able to do this. This was just the first signs of this is a special human being.
Right.
So Nadia's suspicions turned into reality when Boriska started speaking in full sentences and perfect vocabulary when he was just a year and a half old.
Now that's more impressive.
So I don't know if you ever met a 18-month-old baby. They don't really chat you up in a real meaningful way.
My niece is 18 months old this month.
And so is she like writing papers and talking to you
She
about
can
the
say like
weather?
belly and nana and red.
She's not far behind Boris. It doesn't sound like that. It's pretty close. Pretty close.
Right. Sorry, Aaron. Didn't mean to diss on your kid, but she's no Boriska.
So to Mother's surprise, though, he started recalling his past life on Mars and would start sharing detailed stories at a very early age.
That would be freaky for a baby, basically, to walk up to you and start telling you about Mars.
Yeah, like a couple of years old, he's like already like, look, so there's the red planet. It sits in this part of the galaxy, this many planets from the sun. And let me tell you what was going on there a long time ago, because I was there.
Ooh, that
I'm
would freak
2.
me
This
out.
is my second birthday. I just turned 2.
That would be hard from like a Christian perspective because like if my kids started talking about past lives, I would be so interested. But part of me would be like, no, don't think that. But then another part of me would just be like, please tell me everything.
Well,
Master.
I don't know how you like. I did kind of think about that as a parent. Like, how would I react to this? And it's kind of like it's not made up stories. He's able to tell like give scientific explanations on like, again, positions of planets. Like he knows the solar system already at a very early age. And parents claim nobody taught him this.
That's incredible.
Like, this is just on his own. This is happening. So, and like I said, his parents never like talked to him about Mars or space or any of that. He was too young to read everything on his own, but he was reading to some extent already. So sometimes he would sit in the lotus position and start telling his parents detailed facts about Mars, planetary systems, and other civilizations, which really puzzled us, said his mother.
Oh man, that other civilization thing would freak me out. I'd be like, who's coming for my kid?
Well, and yeah, and remember the Star Children were more of the parents are here and they're planning, the children were getting raised on another planet or on a spaceship or something, and we're planning to come here and be assimilated into society.
This is more of like a galactic federation, multiple lifetimes type thing. Like he's some sort of, like I said, like ascendant being who chose human this time around or something.
Well, we're gonna get into that. It seems like whatever, according to Boris, whatever Martians are, they're very different on even an energetic level on what happens to them after death and everything like that. They're a different creature. They're not humans, obviously, but they're playing by different rules. It almost seems like, if you're looking for a way to kind of make this line up with your thoughts about different things.
Right.
That would probably be what I'd say.
I'll let you keep explaining, but I have some questions.
Yeah, like I said, we're going to get more detailed with the Star Children, but as we're going, I mean, it's worth mentioning that, yeah, this is kind of what I'm seeing as the differences between these two. Like, they're not talking about being reincarnated as Star Children. There's something that's been genetically engineered somewhere else, and they're planning on coming here, and they communicate with their parents here.
Oh boy. Oh man, I've heard a lot of stories about like moms and stuff who will like be visited by something like some kind of energy or light or something.
Yeah, and the alien hybrid assimilation, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, right. And also it reminds me of that Into the Fringe, that guy who saw himself as light. and
Yeah.
he made a deal with those aliens that they make him a human body.
Well, yeah, and then like the Star Children ones were the different. Believe it was the woman from Hawaii in that episode was talking about how like she would be out running and like she could like her children would like somehow kind of energetically show up next to her and she could hear them and she could see them, but they
That's
weren't really
right.
there.
That's right.
Like almost like astral projecting, as we talked about. I'm going to blank on that episode, but uh, same sort of thing, I think. Where
Right, right.
it's consciousness leaving whatever body it's in, that vehicle, and being able to move around on its own. This seems to be something different. Like this is just he was born to some human parents and he just came out with all this crazy knowledge.
Right, right.
Which seems to go against what we've kind of covered in like the alien hybrid, like the way they're kind of playing it through. I don't think that's something that's being genetically created somewhere else and then brought here to be with parents.
He's like a human who vibrates on some bigger frequency somehow,
Yes.
naturally. Kind of like the, I think it was our Escaping Time and Space episode.
Are there like almost like their spirits or souls have some sort of maybe different set of rules than maybe ours necessarily do?
Right. Interesting.
So the family took a camping trip, as I was kind of mentioning, when Boris was 7 years old. And during the campfire gathering, Boris asked the people to sit down around him so that they could listen to his stories of being a Martian in his past life. That's how he addresses the group.
Come one, come all.
Let me tell you about Mars thousands of years ago.
So it is a past life, though.
Yes.
Okay.
He's claiming that, yes, we're actually getting ready to get into what he says his story is. And again, he's 7 years old when he's doing this. He's 7 years old, has been doing this since he was a year and a half, 2 years old, talking about all this.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So he held the audience in awe for over an hour. He talked for over an hour. Like he did a TED Talk about being a Martian at 7 years old. And look, okay, so the people in the audience, these aren't just like any regular adults. One of the people that really took notice was a German professor, Gennady Belemov, who recorded Boriska's monologue. It went viral in 2003, and a premier newspaper picked up the story. And that's kind of where everybody's kind of research starts.
Do you think anyone's translated the monologue?
Yes, you can find videos of it.
Oh, man, I'm looking that up.
Yeah. There's a video of it out there, and him being interviewed. Like this is the one time he got covered. Like he talked about it publicly after this.
Okay, cool.
Boris's claims and knowledge of the cosmos bewildered scientists who were in the audience and abroad. This scientists in general, like I don't even fully comprehend how he knows this or how he's come up with this just on his own. He had expert knowledge on the galaxy and the solar system at a very young age. His claims turned interesting when he described life on Mars in detail at this campfire. So according to Boris, he had been a Martian a long time ago. This was at the time when Earth had only one continent and Lemuria was in existence, which at some point we're going to get into Lemuria. I think we might have, I don't know if it actually came up in the Atlantis stuff, like by name, but it's another possible sunken continent believed to be in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, wow. Okay, I think we did brush on it.
I think we touched on it. I looked back through notes and I couldn't find it. And I think we probably just talked about it because it came up in research I was doing for that.
Right.
But there was nothing that I actually noted anywhere that I could look back on. But
you went on a big lost continent kick.
Well, yeah. And it also, I mean, as a lot of people know have been listening, we have some of this stuff bleeds over into stuff we're not talking about on the show, which gets confusing. So it also could have been that. This may have been an inside thing between you and me, but we are definitely, I'm going to be doing Lemuria here pretty soon. I didn't want it to become this episode because that's not what this is, but it's another fun Atlantis type of story.
There had to have been something advanced.
I won't spoil anything, but there's believed to have been evidence found that this place actually existed.
Oh, wow. Okay. But he was on Mars at this time. So the Lumerians were just like his pen pals.
Well, more than that.
Okay.
So both Earth and Mars at this point so Lemuria, I believe it was. I think we date that as something like 700. I don't want to quote a date. I should have put that in there because I think we talk about he talks about what date he's talking about here at some point. But okay, so both Earth and Mars had advanced societies that had time travel and teleportation technologies. This, this is Boris, again, 7 years old, at a campfire with a bunch of scientists and professors sitting around. Because again, mom's a doctor.
Right.
This is a very intellectual crowd. And again, this is only 18 years ago.
Yeah, that's what surprised me. I didn't realize. I think I've heard this guy's name before, but I didn't realize this was like when we were in high school, basically. Yep. Yeah.
So he worked as a military pilot for Mars and had visited Earth a couple of times, he said. Mars and Earth had a very close partnership, and Boris used to fly triangle-shaped spacecraft powered by plasma and ion. And that Martians specifically liked visiting Egypt a lot.
Man, either this kid was just left alone while his parents were working in front of the History Channel and was a genius, or like, yeah, the triangle thing is interesting.
So, and he gets detailed about these visits to Earth at different points and recounts specific prehistoric events. So, according to Boriska, he had visited Earth during the Lemurian civilization, a prehistoric civilization in the lost continent, hypothetically, of Lemuria, which is located in either the Indian Ocean or the Pacific Ocean. And I think that's where it bled over into the Atlantis stuff, because Atlantis seems to be, like we talked about, it was basically a big landmass that eventually sunk and became the Pacific Ocean.
Well, Atlantis is the Atlantic Ocean, thus its name. But if you, yeah.
Oh, did I say Pacific?
Yeah, and this Lemuria would be in the Pacific. But if I remember correctly,
oh, you're right. I got that. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for correcting that.
That's fine. But if I remember correctly, the Atlantis that Plato described, or Aristotle, I forget which one, was like the smaller version that had already been sinking for thousands of years. Yes. And at one point was like not only a land bridge between the Americans and Europe, but it filled in different parts of Africa. And I think it might have extended into the Indian Ocean.
See, and maybe that's where it bled over. But yeah, so, and I mean, you can see on this map here where he's saying Lemuria existed at that time.
Right. So it might have been a larger part of that, but that's not where Atlantis would have been, on the other side of Africa and then bridged into Africa.
Yes. No, it's just the way the map's out, I think, is what got me turned around there. But, okay. So Boriska further claimed, okay, here's the date, that he had seen the end of the Lemurian civilization about 70,000 years ago.
That's not that long ago.
Well, that tracks with what different people have talked about with the Atlantis stuff and that whole continent, and it's because it had 3 phases of sinking in very catastrophic events, if you remember.
Right.
So I'm kind of wondering if those events, and again, we're going to get into Lemuria because we're going to get into Lemuria. I don't want to get sidetracked right now. There's a lot of stuff lined up with the Atlantis stuff, though. So, specialist of the Institute of Earth Magnetism, Ionosphere, and Radio Waves of the Russian Academy of Sciences, Izmaran, as it's known in Russian, that's their abbreviation or whatever, photographed his aura, Boris's aura, so photographs his aura, which turned out to be unusually strong. He has the orange spectrum, which indicates that he is a very joyful person, suggesting he is not a psychic patient or a mentally disturbed person at all, according to, again, researchers at Institute of Earth Magnetism, Ionosphere, and Radio Waves of the Russian Academy of Sciences.
I want my aura photographed.
I do too. As soon as I read that, I'm like, oh, we got to figure out how to get that done.
I know somebody, she's one of my aunts actually, says she can see auras.
Well, we should go pay her a visit.
I know. She doesn't live that far from here.
Yeah, we should do that. Find out what color our auras are, Dennis.
Exactly.
and then judge each other accordingly.
I can't believe she's never told me. I wonder if I have a bad aura.
Mm. I mean, if you weren't going to tell a family member something that special that you were able to see like that, is it? What do you think the reasons are that could
I have a black aura. It's just like a black hole behind me.
be?
Great.
So Boris also said that Martians had the ability to breathe carbon dioxide instead of oxygen. The people on Mars used to be really tall and almost reach as high as 7 feet in height. Also, he says they stop aging when they reach 35 years of age and would be immortal unless they were killed.
So basically, they're trees.
Kind of.
They're just really tall carbon dioxide breathers that can live forever.
Even more interesting, though, Boris believes that there are secrets hidden inside the Great Sphinx in Gaza. Giza?
Giza.
Giza. Blah.
Current events. It's fine. You're thinking of current events.
Yeah, that is what happened. So these secrets he says would change the world forever. He even said that the way to unlock those secrets is hidden behind one of the ears of the Great Sphinx. Boris claimed that Martians and Egyptians had a very close relationship, and surprisingly, about 10 years after Boris made these claims, a sensory scan of the Great Sphinx revealed that there is something odd behind one of the Sphinx ears. There may be a hidden chamber there.
I wish they would just. I get the vibe that like whoever controls digs and stuff there is hiding something.
You know, and again, because this would have been 10 years after he told that story. So this is like 2013-ish. This is like 8 years ago that this became true. But for 10 years before that, he'd said, yeah, there's something going on in one of the ears. I don't remember exactly what, but there's something up with the ear. Check the ear.
I know there's a lot to protect there, but I just feel like with all the technology we have, you would just be finding out new stuff every day. They'd be going through tunnels. They'd have robots in there. Like, you would just think there'd be more.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't read about it enough. Maybe they're doing the best they can, but.
That's true. I don't know. That would probably be an interesting episode at some point, which we've done a lot of pyramid stuff, I feel like. But we can always go further into the pyramids.
Yeah, but I want to know about like who controls that site and who lets who do.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I might. That might be
too.
next week. That might be next week. No promises, but that might be next week.
I love when you make bold statements on the show that are publicly going to be heard, and then we'll see if it comes to fruition or not. So playing it fast and loose, Dennis. Playing it fast and loose.
That's true. You know how we roll.
Yeah. So we have never been able to find any evidence of life on Mars, even though there's strong speculation on the existence of life there. Boris's stories explain why we have not been able to find life on Mars yet, though. According to Boris, when he was like 14 or 15 years old, as a Martian, a nuclear war broke out on Mars. Which, if you remember, tracks with other episodes like the remote viewing of Mars, the 1984 one.
That was an unspecified, but it could have been. It would line up with nuclear war.
Yeah. Well, and timeline-wise as well, like, it's pretty close on that, too. Because he lives through that and then becomes the pilot and everything, and then is visiting Earth around 700,000 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So the Mars thing, remember, was 1 million years ago.
Right. But he's immortal.
But he's immortal,
killed.
and as long as he doesn't get killed, he can go on and always look 35. He's going to look like us forever, Dennis.
Why do all the aliens look young forever? Like the Venusians are like that too. Why are we the only people who get like sun problems?
We're some other thing. I think these are just different types of creatures altogether. Beings, however you want to describe it.
We just got the bad lot.
I mean, yeah. As far as like the immortality and stuff goes, yeah, probably for sure. So this nuclear war broke out, and the war destroyed the atmosphere and the environment completely. So the Martians, he says, tried to create a sun out of the planet Jupiter.
Come on, Martians. That would affect us too.
Again, he stated that the Martians tried to turn Jupiter into another sun.
Which is possible. It's a gas giant if you gave
Yep.
it enough mass or something. Yeah.
So they were unable to do this, but he stated this is why the Great Red Spot is on Jupiter. It was their experiment or them trying to do something there that didn't work. So, since the atmosphere of Mars was at this point no longer habitable, the remaining Mars population moved underground and adapted to breathing carbon dioxide. And he stated they still live there today.
I believe that.
And he goes on to say, we've been looking in the wrong place all along. And another interesting note at 7 years old, Boriska also talked about his own self-designed spacecraft that he made. He says it consisted of 6 layers. 25% out of the outer layer was made of durable metal, 30% second layer made of something similar to rubber. The third layer compromises 30% again, and it's metal. The final 4% is composed of a special magnetic layer. And he said, if we are to charge this magnetic layer with energy, those machines will be able to fly anywhere in the universe.
Man, yeah, I mean, that's very similar to how people think like the Philadelphia experiment and different stuff was run. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so far, he's definitely a genius.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that for sure.
It's just I have to wonder what he was getting his hands on and watching, and you know what I mean? Because in the 2000s, none of this would be inaccessible. You might even see it on certain cable TV shows, and you know what I mean? And
that's true, but what 2-year-old is processing that and creating his own thoughts out of that, his own basically opinion at 2 years old on what all this means? And not only that, but I was involved in it.
Super genius.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe. I mean, there are people like Mozart, and you know, there maybe his thing was he freaking loved space, and he liked to, you know, like a little kids like to tell stories, and
that's true. That's possible.
It's possible, but the interesting thing to me is he kept the same story till he was 7,
and continued to go on past that.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested to hear about, is how far this goes.
Well, yeah, we're heading that direction. We're heading in that direction. So Boris's stories are actually in line with certain theories by like respected experts. Dr. John Brandenburg, a plasma scientist, believes the earlier civilizations on Mars were wiped out by a nuclear war as well. Dr. Alfred McEwen, planetary geology professor, strongly believes that there might be water and life in the interior of Mars. So these put Boris's stories into perspective as well. Boris also made another claim. He said that he is not the only Martian to have ever been reborn on Earth. There are others like me, he said, known as Indigo Children, who are specifically on a mission while they're on Earth. They have been sent to Earth to help humanity avoid an apocalyptic nuclear war.
Oh boy.
So as kind of a refresher, let's go back to what an Indigo Child is specifically, and so we can compare them a little bit. They're referred to also as crystal or star children. And if you remember, we discussed this back in December 2020 on 45, the Star Children of an alien hybrid civilization. So star children are the kids with some EHF, extra human functions, which an average child does not have. These are believed to be the result of some genetic changes or some relations with beings from beyond Earth. It is noted that the population of these star kids is booming. Previously, there were a few examples, but now there are many. These kids have some capabilities which are great according to their age: the ability of telepathy, reading minds, knowledge of the past and the future, great understanding, and higher IQ. One such example we talked about on that episode was Shu Yanu, a star kid who started reading also at the age of 2 and was the youngest child to get a PhD in molecular genetics and cell biology at the age of 18.
Wow. I forgot about Shuyano.
Yeah. So Indigo Child is a person who, like I said, has come into this world destined to create change and spiritually awaken humanity. Indigo children are believed to be free thinkers with profound insights into the human condition and an ability to see the truth clearly. They're spiritually gifted old souls. Indigo children find it hard to fit into mainstream society as well. They're often misunderstood, rejected, misdiagnosed, and medicated. The Indigo Child is also thought to possess strong intuitions and varying spiritual gifts. Like I said, also as well as the ones I've listed, the ability to communicate with spirit guides is on there, and they claim to be able to see visions as well.
Hmm. Is there any correlation between, maybe this would take like a study, between like, do these people continue to believe who they are when they hit adulthood?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, he keeps on going. We're gonna get into it. Yeah, no, he's not just doing this as a kid. He does this into adulthood.
Second question, do their parents tend to already have, like, do they grow up in households that are more like new age spiritual on average, or do you
That I
know?
No, I don't really know about that, and I didn't compare them to. I didn't dig into other Indigo kids as much
I just wonder if you're like a prodigy.
because the
And
Indigo kids, everybody else, a lot of them seem to sound more like Star Children. Again, like they were genetically engineered somewhere else and then brought here.
okay.
So
Yeah.
So, the primary role of the Indigo Child seems to revolve around exposing truth and deception. From a young age, Indigo children are able to see through the illusions, half truths, and falsehoods rife in society. To their parents and teachers, they may seem like overly inquisitive, headstrong, and even obnoxious children. As truth tellers, child and adult indigos can't help but see through the facades of other people and expose them. This desire to bring the truth to light seems to be written into the Indigo Child's DNA. But again, these are reincarnated souls, not something that's been created and brought here as like definitely this was a being that was on a spaceship at some point and now they're pretending to be human.
But do they choose this incarnation? They
No.
would have to, because they have like a mission, right?
Yeah, but they show up knowing that already, it seems like.
Okay.
Like again, he's like hyper aware of all this. It doesn't seem like he really had any. It didn't take him time to recover these past memories like a
Right.
lot of people that claim this do, like with like regression uh work and stuff like that through hypnosis in different forms.
I guess I was thinking when we were talking about the knot cult in Nevada,
Yeah.
there was kind of this idea that when these, like, I'll just call it star people, people from other places or whatever,
Yeah.
that when they die, they are they like go to the council and they can like make decisions about what's going to happen next or what their next mission is or whatever. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, did Boris, like, when he got shot down in his Martian spacecraft or whatever, did he like go to the Galactic Federation and they
It's
said, we
unclear.
okay.
Like he doesn't specify like how he got picked for this mission or why, I don't think.
We need
There
to
there are
interview a
quite a few
star
videos
child.
out there, and I haven't seen like all of it. I've just kind of read about the different ones that he did, but yeah, I haven't seen anything that was specifically like he explained that part of it.
That stinks that, like, these advanced races or whatever, like, assuming this is true, that when they come here they just become outcast. Like,
I mean,
they're here for like a big mission and then they just become kids on like Ritalin.
a lot of stuff seems to kind of point to that, and much like, unlike the Star Children, which are brought here to parents that are already aware this is coming, like Indigos, it do end up getting medicated, and it supposedly messes with their abilities, or it can like completely stamp them out.
I want to put out a call. If anyone out there says they're an Indigo Child or has an Indigo Child, I want to do that interview.
We need to, yeah, that would be fun. I would
Like,
love to
for
find
real.
out.
I will not say you're in a cult. I want to know what it's like on the ground because I have so many questions.
Like that was your pitch.
Well, if you
Look,
listen to the
I
last
won't
one.
call you a cult. Just come talk to me a little bit. No, I am legitimately interested, and the more I research this, like I'm fascinated by it. I would like to I would love to talk to somebody or a child that a couple of years old that's like talking about other planets and stuff already. That would
Oh
be
yeah.
amazing.
Oh yeah.
So, enlightened teacher Jiddu Krishnamurti sums up the Indigo Child's philosophy in his writing and says this: "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society."
He just burned me. And my whole it's sad that they're outcasting.
Yeah, I mean, that's his argument there. People criticize the Indigo Child concept as being one that can be misused by parents seeking to make their children look special, particularly if they have a special needs child. Others claim that signs of being an Indigo Child are so vague they can apply to anyone, and this is called the Forer effect. So while it is true that the Indigo Child label can be misused, just as any label can, the true signs of an Indigo Child are so specific they cannot be widely applied to every person, it's believed. So Indigo children are obsessed with finding the truth. This cannot be said of every person or every child. Every rule, belief, structure, and institution will be questioned and ruthlessly challenged by an Indigo Child. This trait is truly unusual and extraordinary, as a lot of the believers feel.
Okay. I don't know if I find that so extraordinary.
Yeah.
I think everyone wants to know the truth, especially very intelligent children would. And we live in a very skeptical society.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
I'm not shooting it down. I just want to talk to one of these people.
Yeah. So it is also common for people to criticize the Indigo Child label as being delusional. And while all labels and concepts used to describe the ego are illusory constructs of the mind, finding a sense of affinity with the Indigo Child label is extremely beneficial. Identifying this with this label helps to develop self-understanding, acceptance, which are important elements of spiritual growth, as a lot of these believers feel. So it's also common for an Indigo Child, as we've kind of talked about, to be misdiagnosed with behavioral issues, commonly ADD and ADHD, along with some other mood disorders, because their headstrong, free-thinking nature as children is often feared, misunderstood, and therefore medicated at young ages.
There's no doubt there's too much of that stuff going on.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, medication like Ritalin and Adderall is believed to often end up numbing the Indigo Child and causing them to lose contact with their intuitive capacities and truth-seeking nature.
The Galactic Federation is sending us their vest, and we're putting them on kitty meth.
Yep.
Us crazy monkeys, man. What are we going to do with ourselves?
Hopefully not nuke ourselves. I think that's the general goal, is just don't let them nuke themselves. So I just want to, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I want to go through just some of the signs that these experts or believers say are signs of an Indigo Child. So you're very strong-willed, as we've talked about. You're passionate. You're out to like accomplish dreams and goals. The second one is you're an old soul. You feel as though you've lived many lifetimes. You're a free thinker, which is obvious. You're a headstrong nonconformist. As a child or teenager, you may have been thought of as naughty, obnoxious, disobedient, and contrarian. As an adult, you still can't stand being boxed in or controlled by others. Again, next one's passionate truth seeker. You're perceptive and intelligent. You are highly intuitive. You want to change the world. You're empathetic and compassionate. You're a change-making leader. You're idealistic. You have a loner, autonomous personality. And this one, as a free spirit, you don't like to be held down by anyone or anything. You're highly creative. You also have a strong connection with nature and animals. The 15th is you're drawn towards spirituality over religion. You also struggle with boredom, and you are prone to experience existential angst. So those are some of the signs that you could be an Indigo Child, Dennis. The other...
Okay. Oh, permission. Oh, go ahead. I want you to finish.
Okay. Just a few other ones that they threw out there as possible signs that you might be an indigo child are tendency towards addiction to numb feelings, seeking only loyal friendships, proud, bossy, they're fiery tempered, more sensitive to environmental and food pollutants, and spiritual gifts as clairvoyance and telepathy are common.
Okay.
That's my so you checked a bunch of those boxes, you might be an indigo child and you just don't know about it.
You might be an alien.
A reincarnated Martian soul, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Before we get into the next segment, I want to know what you think about the general concept.
Well, okay, so the list I just gave, that again I found like this seems to be a general idea, and some got really weird about like they didn't list certain things because it made them seem like narcissistic and stuff like that. I don't know that I necessarily go along with like exactly what's being said as far as the ways to tell. Like these are pretty broad. Like I feel like anybody can check at least half of that list.
Well, that's my thing is right before that, the spiritual master was saying these are very specific things that do not apply to everyone. And I feel like when I read that, I feel like I feel like I don't think of yourself. Think about, do you know any people who you know think these things about themselves?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I feel like most people can check at least half of these boxes pretty easily.
And some of them, like, one of them was a leader.
Yeah.
But then another one was like, you're a loner.
Yeah. So I don't think you can check all the boxes, maybe. Again, it seems very broad.
This reminds me, and I'm just going to say it. I still want to interview you if you're out there. Prove me wrong. This reminds me of every kid I ever met who goes to a nice college and they can eat peanut butter and their parents are special and they've never been told no. And they just know that they're the most smart, most intuitive. They would be the best leader, but they haven't done that yet because they're a loner. And like, it reminds me of a combination between like reading all the horoscopes and like people who just think they're going to change the world, like before they've done anything. And I would like to see a study of how many of these people actually become, number 10 was change making leader.
Yeah.
Because theoretically, you're an old soul, which also to me does not vibe with like being exceptionally I guess rambunctious. You know what I mean? Like you think you'd know to like go through things for the lesson or something like that. Like those two things kind of don't vibe with me. This kind of just seems to be in our culture. We have this whole like, I'm this, I'm that. It's like I'm the most extreme this, but I'm also, you know, I don't know. This speaks to me more. This sounds to me more like our culture and what we're told to be than it does like an alien culture to me. Like a million-year-old spirit. You think a million-year-old spirit, I don't know. But then again, we medicate kids who we shouldn't be medicating, and I totally agree with that. And so I don't know where I fall on this. I find this, you're right, it's not upsetting, but it's interesting.
It's fun to think about.
Like, for instance, proud and bossy. That doesn't sound like an old soul to me.
I don't know. You never met a grandpa that's like super bossy and everything going on has to be like their way.
I mean, to an extent, but
I'm a million years old. We should do this exactly how I know what's going on.
Pride's a sin. I mean, I don't think of. I know you laugh at me. I don't think of like prideful people as being exceptionally wise, or people with a fiery temper as being old soul. I get it. I can think of old
you can
people.
You can be combinations of those things. Those people do exist.
Yeah.
You've never met like an old cranky soul that's like 25?
Well, yeah,
They're
I
just
feel
already
like
mad at the world.
I feel like we almost fit in that category.
Well,
But
that's a
I
comedian
also
thing, I
don't
think.
I feel like I don't also think I'm a million-year-old Galactic Federation member.
Well, I wouldn't rule it out. I've been checking these boxes, Dennis, and I'm probably going to be watching you a lot closer. I'm not completely sure you're not a Indigo Child that may have been drugged at a young age. I'm not sure. I gotta talk to your mom. I gotta figure some stuff out.
I found the word. Allergies, proud, bossy, can't sit still. These are first world characteristics. It's
Yeah.
the way I think. It's the way I think of it. I'm highly skeptical of this. I find it very interesting. There's
So
just
go ahead.
no. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say personally, like I said, I don't know that I agree with the broad categorization that they're doing to kind of you might be one. I do believe Boris specifically though. Like
Well,
personally,
okay.
I can't find a way to. You're right. He could have been watching some stuff at a very early age, but again, it's just way too detailed, and he's able to match up things that again they didn't figure out until later on. Like it's just a weird coincidence that he would specifically say the ear of this one of the ears of the Sphinx, and then there's this weird chamber that we didn't know about until 8 years ago.
Yeah, and I'm not shooting down that this could be a real phenomenon. In fact, I'll say specifically, we tend to diagnose ourselves as special in the society. That doesn't mean there aren't special people.
That's what and that's kind of I think where I'm going with my thoughts on it is yeah that a lot of people want to be special, especially
Yeah,
in a society that puts such a high value on individualism.
right. I guess I would
To
say,
not
for
be
instance,
special is like the goal of no one. Like that's not our how our society tends to function. Like
well, it's not just what society tells you. I think there are some very balanced people who
oh
don't
yeah, I'm
feel the
not saying they
need
don't
to.
exist, but I'm saying by
Yeah,
and large, what the popular opinion is to be as individualistic as possible, and you're special. Everybody's
right,
special. I'm
right.
special. You're special.
I'm a bee, I'm a leather, I'm a child, I'm a mother. I okay, so here's how I go about this though. So for instance, Boris, at least to me, and that Sphinx thing is very interesting. That
That
to
was
me,
one of that was
yeah,
one of the points that drove it home for me.
yeah, that's very interesting. Now, at least to me, because maybe he found that in an old book at a school or something. I don't know, but he's a prodigy, and prodigies exist. And I will say this, prodigy is one thing that people call people all the times in our society when they're not really that.
Yeah,
And so I would say the same thing could be true of indigo children. He could also be an indigo child, and there could also be just a bunch of people who want their child to be an indigo. It could be both at the same time.
that's kind of where I was going with the list. Is yeah, it just everybody wants their a fair majority of people. I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't broadly paint it that. There are a good number of parents that want their children to be special and will delusionally convince themselves of this
Yeah,
just because it's their child.
exactly.
And this would be an easy way to do that. Well, my child is difficult. Oh, he must be an indigo child. This
right.
makes sense. I have a higher calling now to raise this bratty kid so that he can change the world.
That's why he's proud and bossy. And oh my gosh, I've known so many of these people when they grow up. And some of them do good things, some of them do great things, some of them don't do a whole lot of anything.
That's true.
But you know that they think this way about themselves. I've always thought it'd be a fun experiment when it comes to like horoscopes and stuff to take like to go into encyclopedia articles about the traits of like people who we think of as like almost objectively great,
Mm.
like make a summary of the personal habits of Abraham Lincoln, Joan of Arc, Gandhi, and then like take out all the specific references and say, and then show a bunch of people who are really into astrology and be like, and tell them it's like their sign.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here's what a Capricorn is. And you're just showing them like a bunch of stuff written about Abraham Lincoln, or like, here's what a Sagittarius is. And it's like all the stuff people write in Islam about Muhammad, and just like see how many people are like, oh my God, that's me. Like, because it's so
Yeah,
flattering.
yeah, it's flattering and positive.
Yeah. Now I will. My last thing before we go on, I will say there are two of these things. Actually, there's three of these things, but I put more weight into two of them. More sensitive to environmental and food pollutants. That's testable.
Yeah.
That's way more testable than proud or bossy or once a
Yep.
loyal friend. Spiritual gifts and clairvoyance. That's also testable.
Yes.
Telepathy. And the third thing that I thought you could also test for over a long-term scale is the change-making leader.
Yeah.
You could actually see who's actually made a difference. And
Yeah.
those three things are not personality related. Now you could also, I guess, test IQ. You could do perception and intelligence, but mainly, I think over a long period of time, telepathy, maybe the addiction thing could be lumped in with the allergy thing, but those are 3 or 4 things that I feel like I'd really like to see tested for, like on a group of these people, and see how it turns out.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Those are good points. Yeah, it would be interesting to see how. Yeah, especially like clairvoyance and telepathy. Those are ones that you could definitely test in some way.
Yeah, we have the government and different organizations that have tests. Can you do better than random predicting the cards? Or, yeah, I would love to see something like that.
Oh yeah, they've researched all of that for sure throughout the years, and between their psychedelic research and
right
remote viewing and all that, astral projecting. So back to Boris though. Because, like, okay, so we've been talking about him, like, we're talking up to like 10 years ago, what's going on with Boris. So 2020 is like the last kind of time, like, people keep going back to this story because it's very interesting. So he said as of last year, disappeared along with his mother, and a number of attempts by Western journalists to track him down failed. It is said that one journalist was once informed by one of their Russian associates that Boriska is now in a remote village under the protection of the Russian government, and any attempts to reach him would be futile, whereas some believe that he lives somewhere in Moscow. And this is the most recent. I'll throw this up, obviously, on the YouTube. That's him in the white t-shirt. So that's him all grown up. I'm assuming this is the little brother. I'm not sure. They look alike. They look very similar, though. I'm assuming they're some sort of relation.
Yeah, it looks like maybe his little brother.
So people weren't satisfied with not being able to find him. So psychics started to claim to reach out towards him. And some claim that they were able to communicate with Boris through their minds, and they have been replied to by Boris with a similar saying that he is at a remote place with his mother, but he is doing okay, and that the Russian government has something to do with it. However, no one knows exactly where he is now. And that's where I leave it, Dennis.
He's working in the Moscow Starbucks.
Like last year, he just disappeared.
That is sometime before 2020.
Sometime before 2020, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff you can find, I think, where he's doing stuff up into the teens, the 2000 teens.
Sometimes
it's pretty recent that he's just gone.
Why would an enlightened alien work with the Russian government?
Well, again, his main goal, as he kind of talked about, their main goal, Indigo Children, is to stop nuclear war.
Right.
You're going to have to be involved with all the superpowers.
Man.
There's got to be some in China. There's got to be some in North Korea.
There's probably some here.
There's got to be some here.
Sometimes I get worried. This is like 10% of my theorizing, but sometimes I get a little worried, like, what if the UAPs and stuff are made by another government?
Possibly.
And it's like something like somebody like Boris has just given all the super weapons to like the Russians.
Yep.
Man, it'd be
an Indigo Child gone bad.
My whole they finally got to him once he hit his 20s.
Breaking Indigo.
I wonder, like, who else in history might have been one of these people and not realized it, like Tesla or like
there's the argument on Tesla that he was just an alien altogether.
Yeah, maybe we didn't have words like Indigo Child and stuff.
That's true too.
I don't know how to feel about this. This is so intriguing. It does not bum me out.
That's what I figured. I figured this would be a fun, intriguing, just thought-provoking episode, but not one that really upsets you necessarily.
And
Because
where
if
is
you
he?
believe what they say Indigo Children are here to do, they're helpful.
Right.
As we've kind of brushed on, and eventually as we dig into the different believed alien races, this would be some of the helpful ones that want to preserve humanity.
They're meant to be helpful, but also we know we can drug them, and we know we can get them addicted to drugs.
That's true. So you could technically turn this bad.
They were like a weapon.
Back to your UAP argument, yeah, to where they're not helpful now. They're working against the good Indigo Children.
These people are weapons. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if I want to put a percentage on what I believe about this. I don't know. I definitely am highly skeptical that this is like a widespread phenomenon.
No, it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine if you're less skeptical. My skeptical researcher friend. But I mean, if they're going to just start disappearing and we can only communicate with them through psychics, that kind of puts a bosh on my whole let's do a longitudinal study of their psychic abilities thing.
Well, I mean, but this is a fully developed one who's shown like a bunch of capabilities. We would be seeking ones that I guess are probably earlier on in life.
Right. Man.
Because if you believe Boris, he says there's more of these and they're coming.
And then again, why do we necessarily trust that they're here for good reasons?
Well, because Boris said so.
Right, because they told us so. He landed on the White House lawn. He said, "I'm from Mars and I mean you good things. Now I'm going to disappear and work for the Russian government."
I should have included. He's a good-looking kid. He looks.
You have a photo of him. Oh, you have a photo of him.
I meant to include some of the younger ones. Maybe I'll plop them up during the YouTube feed.
Well, tell me, you did all this research, which means you probably read 10 times as much as I just listened to for the show. Like, what am I missing? Like, what swings you one way or another?
Again, his level of knowledge is what I found very convincing.
Yeah.
I just had a hard time explaining that away in any meaningful way on how somebody so young could be baffling those with PhDs at 2 or 3 years old. And then definitely by 7. I guess by 7 is where it really becomes public. But I mean, his mother's a doctor. Like I'm assuming a very well-read individual. And again, I don't know why I don't doubt her in all of this, because there was so much quantifiable evidence, I think, pretty early on that other people could corroborate or whatever.
Could hear him speaking and all that. I can't get past the fact that he could just be a prodigy. Go ahead.
Oh no, I agree with that. That is a slight possibility. Again, but some of the stuff that he had information about, other people didn't know yet.
That Sphinx left ear thing I keep going back to that in my mind.
That's the hardest one to explain away. Like, that's a really lucky guess for a child to connect Mars with Egypt in a meaningful way, and then say there's something specific here that will link all of this together and move things forward. You just haven't gotten to it yet. But once you do, it's going to be crazy.
Well, that's it. I'm going to Egypt. I'm gonna put on some whitey tighties and go bust open the left ear of the Sphinx. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to need some Adderall, but we're going to get it done.
Please wear like a GoPro head cam or something and live stream that to me. Because you're not coming back from Egypt for a while, so we're going to really have to milk that content for all it's worth.
I'll wear a hard hat with a GoPro on it and just straight up like getting sunburnt, just like smacking the left ear of the Sphinx with a baseball bat, screaming, Boris!
You didn't even take proper tools. I would expect nothing less from you.
I want to do, this intrigues me enough that I want to do some more research and do it on my own as well. So good job.
It kind of revived me wanting to go back and go over the Star Children stuff again too, and maybe dig further into some of those specific experiences as well. Because just further contrast and kind of compare these two different groups and what they say about themselves.
I just have so many questions, and my big one I keep coming back to is, where are the 23-year-old star children smoking a cigarette outside of a coffee shop telling people about Mars?
We covered them on the episode 45. We talked about a handful of them.
I know, but I want to know more. I guess I'm just very intrigued. I'm worried and I'm intrigued.
Yeah, the Star Children seem to at least that group out of New Mexico, I believe it was, want people to know about them. It seems like Indigo Children maybe are a little bit more discreet in their overall, just like explaining to people and making it known what they are and who they are.
I'm calling it. Bernie Sanders is a star child.
He might be. God bless him.
Well, I got nothing else to say. That was a sign of that. But this was interesting. I mean, I might let this be your main topic of research, but I'm definitely going to be Googling this stuff, going into stuff.
I have much more information on this, but again, I'm circling back to Lemuria pretty soon, I think. So I'm going to go on another sunken continent, Middle Earth spree, I think, probably. And it seems like everybody liked those, so I don't think anybody's going to be upset that I'm going to do some more of that. Everybody seemed to enjoy those episodes. So
I have a natural when it comes to like new age stuff, and I don't know why. I just have a natural so like whenever that stuff comes up, it's like I need extra convincing, but I think that makes it fun.
Where I was looking into several of the places I looked into that were talking about all this, we're also talking about like enneagrams and other like personality tests, as well as quantifiable ways to point towards this.
Interesting.
Which I just found it interesting that they were including that as like spiritual guidance or whatever.
We might have to do a show on that eventually.
I think so.
We were texting about that a couple of weeks ago, and I was learning
the history of it and everything.
The history of it, yeah, is a little more spiritual than it's portrayed now. But yeah, it's really, I just gotta say, man, I don't know. I don't know. I look forward to future. You got me up in the air. You got me in one of those moods. So you got me some type of way, Patrick.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Dennis, thank you for being here with me as always. I should have said it earlier. Like, rate, subscribe, push all those buttons for us. Write something nice on iTunes or whatever service you use to download this, because we're in all of them. So write us a review there. Send us an email. Do all that stuff. Like, we want to hear from you. And yeah, again, if you are an Indigo or Star Child and would like to discuss this further with us, we would enjoy interviewing you as well.
Yes.
So
yes.
With that said, thank you all so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.